Rent moratoriums heat up in the second stimulus package overnight in both a state and federal level. Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update, our fourth of the day. And this one is really quite fascinating. It focuses on rent. If you are a renter and having obligations, having difficulty making your rent, or you're a property owner and are having difficulty making your mortgage payments, you need to watch this video because there's really shocking news that has come out in the last 24 hours. It came out on both a federal and a state level, and I'm also going to cover the laws that are being proposed that are going to go to a vote in late July. First, let me deal with a state level. Several states and counties have issued new rent eviction moratoriums overnight. What I mean by moratorium is that if you are a renter and cannot make your rent, a landlord cannot evict you depending upon where you live and depending upon these new executive orders. In California, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, issued a new order overnight that said renters cannot be evicted by landlords if they can't make the rent through September 30th. It's a new extension. Here is the executive order. Gavin Newsom issued today an executive order extending authorization for local governments to halt evictions for renters impacted by COVID-19 through September 30th. The order addresses a variety of issues, extending provisions. The order extends waivers of temporarily broadening the ability of counties to enroll people in CalWorks as well. It's a great development. Ultimately, the governor said counties can make the decisions, and many counties have. Counties can make the decision and cities can make the decisions. In Santa Monica, here locally, they extended the rent moratorium. So what does this mean? You need to look immediately and be alert if your state's governor, your county, or your city has extended the moratorium on rent eviction. It's important to know that because if you are watching this video now the first week of July and you can't make July's rent, you need to see if some order has been issued that protects you against being evicted because you cannot make rent. Next, let's talk about proposals, and these aren't orders, so they aren't actually in existence yet. They're proposals about where things may go. First, let's talk about the HEROES Act. There is several proposals for rent, to help you for rent under the HEROES Act. The HEROES Act was written and passed by the Democrats in the House. It's now in the Senate and will come to a vote in late July and will likely be approved in some format on August 8th. This channel has been reporting. So there's several parts to rental aid in the HEROES Act. The first one is a $40 million plus renters relief. Wow, it's just really great. It provides $100 billion for rental assistance. How it would work? An existing rental assistance program would be established. It would verify your inability to make rent, your inability to pay the rent. You just can't make the rent, and would send you a voucher. The federal government would send you a voucher that would help you pay your rent and your utilities. It depends on where you are, but in California, utilities are a fortune. They're absolutely a fortune. It would also extend the ban on evictions for non-payment following a year after enactment of the law. So if the law is passed on August 8th, it would basically say, hey, you cannot evict tenants for non-payment of rent till August 8th of 2021. In the meantime, we're going to send them vouchers to help them pay their rent and send them vouchers to help them pay their utilities. It's great news. Now, let me get to the landlords. The landlords would also get a mortgage relief under the HEROES Act. The bill also provides $75 billion for homeowners assistance, well, it's actually homeowners assistance, to prevent mortgage defaults and foreclosures. So this would be a covered mortgage, and previously only borrowers of federally backed mortgages were eligible for 12 months of forbearance. This would provide a national foreclosure and eviction moratorium for 1 year and extend the benefits of mortgage services for people who can't make their mortgages. So this is a relief for people who own property, for people who are homeowners. There's also one for landlords, which I won't get to in this video. There's a debt collection freeze as also. There would be a proposal that would stop debt collectors in their act. The HEROES Act would include a moratorium or debt collections during the pandemic and 120 days thereafter. Democrats are no fan of debt collectors, including short-term and long-term, but Republicans are sort of here and there on it. It's really quite fascinating. But there you go. Finally, there's another plan, and this one's a biggie. And it didn't get a lot of coverage. I don't know why. I covered it yesterday shortly. I'm going to go into more detail today because it was really hot off the presses yesterday. It is a new bill that was passed proposed in the Senate. And it was filed on Monday by Elizabeth Warren, a senator. And as you know, because it starts in the Senate, it would have to be approved by the Senate, go back to the House, and come back to the Senate. But it would halt all rental evictions through March 2021. It's really quite interesting. Warren said in a conference call Monday that this is an economic crisis on the housing market. We need some short-term emergency solutions to make sure families can stay in their homes. Very well said. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition is really, really in favor of Warren's proposal. I am too. It sounds absolutely great. Without a quick and significant federal intervention, there will be a wave of evictions. Really, the wave has already started. Our work is now to prevent it from becoming a tsunami. City Life Executive Director Lisa Owens had some comments as well. The worst may yet to become. The looming eviction crisis sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic will disproportionately impact communities of color. Very well said. Such a moratorium are nothing more than there are some people who are unhappy with these proposals, and you certainly know who they are. But what the issue is the following. You have this channel is continually hitting home with in using this term, financial cliff, CLIFF. You have this financial cliff coming in July, and it's very, very scary. I can't express how scared I am in even reporting it. The reason why is you have all these things coming due at the same time. And by having everything due at the same time, if you don't fix these things, if you don't extend them, because the situation is not good at the moment, if you don't extend them, everything will implode. What am I talking about? Well, here we go. You have people who aren't making a living, who don't have a job, who have been laid off, that can't make their rent. Okay, so they don't have money. They're getting, hopefully, unemployment assistance. They're hopefully getting FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government. Late July, it's cut off. They don't get it. It's cut off because the CARES Act expires in late July, and the HEROES Act, which proposes to extend it, has not yet been passed. So they can't make ends meet. I mean, it's different from even being able to make their rent. They can't even get food on their table because no one can buy food with $167 from your state of California every week. That's just not enough money. So you have that problem. You have the next problem. They can't pay rent. They can't make rent obligations. Well, if they can't make rent obligations, the landlords don't have the income that they were expecting to exist. Landlords have an obligation as well. Who's their landlord? Who's their obligation to? Their bank, because they have mortgages against their property. So the landlords moratorium have a moratorium as well. Renters cannot be evicted until a certain period of time under the CARES Act. Landlords have a moratorium on when their mortgages are due. That's also expiring under the CARES Act. So they don't have the income coming in. They can't pay their mortgages. the banks are going to foreclose. The banks are going to foreclose, and then the banks are going to have all these properties in foreclosure, and everything all over the place will be a big, big financial fiasco. Foreclosures, people on the street, people losing their properties, people losing their homes, people on unemployment, basically homelessness. And that is why when I decided to do a fourth video today about rental and rental evictions, I understood the importance of this subject matter in the second stimulus package debate. Rent and rent forgiveness and rent moratorium is part of the second stimulus package, but ultimately it's one of the most critical, because if you don't have moratoriums that protect your ability to live, that protect your sanctity of your home, then that is one of the scariest things that needs to be addressed. The reason why a second stimulus package is so important is that extension of those rental moratorium, eviction moratoriums, that protection for landlords so they don't lose their property, the protection for everyone on the food chain. And ultimately, if the pandemic continues, which it is, if COVID-19 cases increase, which they are, if unemployment claims continue at 1 million per week, which they are, they're at 14th consecutive week. If the unemployment rate stays at 11%, which is the worst since the Great Depression, which it is, then you need a second stimulus package. If you have questions in today's video, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. This is our fourth of 4 second stimulus check videos today. Earlier today, we started with SSDI and SSI and Social Security under a second stimulus check and the jobs numbers. We went over additionally hazard pay, a lot of more nuance that I had not covered before. PUA and FPUC and UI was our third video. This one, then coming up later, EIDL for my OGs of the DC. As always, stay up LA for more.